try this. Oh, one. Twende. Nice. Siwaoni? Kanyaga tu kirudi. Kimaandamano style. Tena, muziki bila jasho. Ala. When I saw you, when I met you, when I kissed you, now that I love you, kwa penzi lako nimechizi kama wazimu kule sokoni, umeniwekea hirizi hata mwingine sioni. Kwa penzi lako nimechizi kama wazimu kule sokoni, umeniwekea hirizi hata mwingine sioni. Oh mama, oh chérie, aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie, aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie, twende, aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie. Once more, aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie. Ya mwisho twende, aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie. Aparie, adorie, aparie, agombie. Thank you. Siwaoni lakini nimewaona. Asante sana. Twende. Nani anakaa unapenda kitu tamu inua mkono juu. Kwa unapenda vitu tamu simama kama unapenda simama. Nashika breki nishapata sinyorita anayenifaa, na ukipata na kamanga shika hiyo bima nisipeleke ba. Mama sita wanipa kicha, sita kukukumbusha, unafanya na ng'ang'ani na papa nipe tam yeah. Wawasha moto na sio utoto, kweli kidosho nimepata loto, haikeshi ngoma ya kitoto mama, wape kisogo la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, tam tam. Tum 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 la 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 mama, la 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 mama. hali ya mtu no haikuliki, nyakati za dhiki jaribu punguza kiki. Sinaga peni,
sinaga senti,
baby leo sisi twapanda pikipiki. Oh, nifanyeje mama, nimechoka kutanga hapa ntatia nanga, hata wafunge kanga hapa hawataleta drama. Wawasha moto na sio utoto, kweli kidasho mimi nimepata loto, haikeshi ngoma ya kitoto mama, wape kisogo la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, tam tam, tam tam, tam, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, la 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 mama, tam tam, tam tam, tam. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Wenye wamekaa sijui mbona wamekaa. Between love and lust, which works? Siski? Ati? Mama yangu. Between love and lust, what works? Lust. Oh God of all creation. Daktari, unasikia maneno? Gen Z wanasema ati lust supersedes love. Between love and lust, which works? Okay, sikia hii alafu decide. Again, art is not subjective, it's relative. Twende kazi. Sikia hii story. Hii story ni ya millennial fulani. Yeah. Hii unaweza sikia tu. Kupenda mtu hakupendi ni kama kungojea train kwa airport. That's why I'm still sober in this highway of life. And the truth is a knife. I wish I was a robber, I'd steal her heart. Boy child, I'm suffering. This chile murdering me in cold blood love. Please be my rubber, erase the pain from my sheet of life. Please be my rubber, erase the pain from my sheet of life. Is it love that I'm feeling?
is it lust that confuses?
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Is it love that I'm feeling? Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Am I a gun for hire? Sai umenitupa kwa fire sun. Sets at dawn. Siku hazisongi kama jua kwa solar system. One universe, 9 planets, 2 or 4 countries, 8 or 9 islands, 7 seas. And I had a privilege of meeting you. Please be my rubber, erase the pain from my sheet of life. Please be my rubber, erase the pain from my sheet of life. Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
love that I'm feeling?
Love that confuses.
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Love that confuses.
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it love that confuses?
Now choose love, lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different words. Say love,
Lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different
me
words.
say love, lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different words. Say
Love, lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different
me
words.
say love, lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different words. Say
Love, lust, 2 different words.
me say love, lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different words.
lust, 4 letter words, but love, lust, 2 different words.
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Is it love that I'm feeling?
Is it lust that confuses?
Thank you. You can have your seats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've just been the curtain raisers. Kindly move the mic stands behind. On stage is Tontena's Entertainment under a program incorporated under Kenya Cultural Center, incorporating Kenya National Theatre, Sanaa Itambe Initiative, with an excerpt from the play we did, Another Terrible Mistake. Stand by. Stand by 20. Sir, stand by. Jotham, let's go. I wanna be rich. I wanna be famous. I wanna have lots and lots of money. So above the clouds, I wanna be free. Like Nelson Mandela. Stand tall like a pyramid. So courageous. No place I'd rather be.
Oh na na na, oh na na na.
No place I'd rather be. Live and die in Africa. Aye, Africa. Aye, Africa. Oh, liberté. Aye, Africa. Aye, Africa. Oh, liberté. Aye, Africa. Aye, Africa. Oh, liberté. Live and die in Africa.
this stupid mistake happen? Where were you?
Me. Sir, I wasn't, sir.
If you had been vigilant, this wouldn't have happened in the first place.
But sir, blaming Dan will not solve anything here.
Okay, gentlemen, right now our first priority is to ensure that the brown man bag is secure. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
I want you to think carefully. Dan, retrace your step. What do you remember since you last saw the bag?
To the garage to take the car.
Take the car.
I got into the car.
Got in the
After
car.
getting into the car, I started the car.
Started the car.
Opened the car.
Nice, nice.
Opened the side mirrors.
Side mirrors
I
open.
saw Mama Mboga and I said hi to Mama Mboga.
Mama Mboga, hi.
Yes, I took the
the
bag.
Good.
I put
Put
it in the bag.
back.
I
Back
put
seat.
it in the back seat.
Nice.
I saw Mama Mboga again and
Come
then
on, not.
I left the car. I left the
So
car.
you left the car. You left the car. That's why you left the car. How could you leave my car?
Dan, when you left the car, did anyone else access it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good, who? Who? Yes, come on, Dan, you're doing well. Who?
I didn't see anyone.
What is wrong with you? Sima your sound track. Sima. Wewe mpaka tunakuwekea sound and you're not giving me substantial answers. What is wrong with you guys?
Sorry, but someone must have come when I was not.
Who is that someone? Echo, do this. I want you to go to that garage, check the CCTV footage, ensure that you give me answers. You know, I want to know whether someone might have tampered with the car.
Confirm, sir.
And make sure you track. Barbie got a tracking device, right?
Yes, sir.
Track it.
Confirm.
Track it.
Yes,
Stick around with the TV, okay?
you okay, sir?
Usianze kusumbuana na nini hapa sasa. Sawa? Wait. No, this is a restricted. Wait.
She's the bride.
Here comes the bride. Here comes the bride.
What's wrong with this boy? Go on, cheesy.
I told you they are mad.
We have spent so much money for this day to come true.
Dr. Robin, let me out.
I told you these people are mad. Yes, I told you that. Anyway, you have to leave. As you can see, this is a restricted zone. Please, leave.
No, I have to secure the bag first.
Wait. You're gonna wait. You're gonna wait. Where? Which bag are you talking about?
Bazo's bag. I know you're taking from his car. He got happy.
Yeah, you know, I honestly don't know what you're talking about. Wait, nimesema mikono kwa nchi. Hebu tuingie mitini. Tuingie mitini. Simama hapo. I honestly don't know what you're talking about.
Daktari bag. Usifanye zuzu kama machizi wako.
I'm telling you, I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, you know how ruthless Bazu is. Nani boss wako, si ndio?
Yes.
Sawa. Nitamwambia you're the one who stole his bag, alafu nione ukiteseka once umepoteza hii job.
Masa.
Okay.
Wait. Mikono kwa nchi. Kwa nchi. Wait. Hebu tuingie mitini. Mitini. Sio. Mitini. Wait. Soba hapo. Wait.
Which mountain? There's fire on the mountain top. You see, Mercy has no mercy. Mercy? Yes. What has Mercy done? She wants the brown one back. Give me out. You sold me out. Najua. Umeniuza. Nasemaje hivyo? She knows you have it. How she knows I don't know? We are doomed. Skin mosquito. We are doomed. You are the reason in the first place as to why we are in this situation. Me? Yes. Do you know right now if the board realizes that I'm keeping a sane person in this facility on credit? Do you know I will lose my job?
Come on, take it easy, Mr. Robin.
It's easier said than done. Wewe ni kusema tu para. I'm even done covering up for you. Yes, you are going to pay for the hospital bill.
You know you are talking to a madman.
Madman, eh? Nonsense.
Okay, do this, eh? Go get Mercy out of these premises. Then you can come and talk, we can talk about my hospital bill.
Shio. Why don't we just go tell Mercy the truth for us to avoid another terrible mistake?
Are you mad?
I am mad. No, my friend, in this particular situation, you're the one who is mad. Yes. And let me tell you, I am the only one who can make sober decisions in this facility. Now,
Okay, so fanya hivi basi, eh? Go get that bag. Eh? The money you need, go get it. It is in that bag.
see, we go
Let us get the bag.
See, we go there. Twende.
You see, but I can't go. I cannot go. I can't risk myself. People seeing me. You see, remember, I am a madman. You know? And beside the presence of that woman is very nauseating and lose character.
You met mama in the pharmacy. An addict I am to you, honey.
But you love money.
I can't impress her with my cheap Impreza. Amenivutia, I think ni Mkamba. Ana element za mtaita, bright future nyuma mbele yuko sawa. Body shape chupa ya soda, ukisikia umeniita shea kuka. Sauti nyororo, amenifungia kwa jela ya love. Jela ya love. She's a drug to me. Ameniweka auto pilot. Hey, ameniweka auto pilot. Ameniweka auto pilot. Ameniweka auto pilot. She's a drug, a beautiful drug. 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 She's a drug, a beautiful drug.
Sims will always see dust. Even on rainy seasons. So, let me ask you. So you went an extra mile to learn Kijaluo, ndio uimpress huyo empress?
Of course. Okay, baby, son, baby. But the good thing is that I can't.
She done too. Yes, you weak soy boy.
And cut. Because of time, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you so much. Because of time, it's not me, it's the program. We'll continue tomorrow. Please. Thank you for understanding. God bless you. We have to proceed with the program. Kindly. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the afternoon session. I am sure you have enjoyed the performance by Tontenas. We will find another time where they can also come in to finish that performance. Perhaps early in the morning, we'll see how we can work it out. For now, we would like to start the paper presentations of the afternoon session. And to start us off or to lead us through these presentations is Juma Brenda, who will introduce the paper presenters. Karibu, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shikuku. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Juma Brenda, famously known as MC Jumsi, and I'm very elated to be here and to listen to the lovely presentation since morning. So the theme of this conference is Igniting the Future, Sustainable Innovation and Social Impact in Performing Arts. And you can tweet, you can share on your socials with hashtag ArtsCon2. We have amazing presenters for this session, some whom will listen to them physically and some will listen to them virtually. To Kickstarters is a very amazing lady, and I know you'll really enjoy listening to her. She won the Best Theatre Award Stage Manager of the Year in 2022. She is a graduate of Theatre Arts and Film Technology from Kenyatta University. And with a close to a dozen smash success under her belt within the last 8 years. Her work includes stage managing shows such as I Will Marry When I Want, Jesus Christ Superstar, Because You Said So, The Sound of Music, Subira, Esther the Musical, among others. Besides stage management, she's also a proficient film production manager whose other interests spill into photography and event management. Kindly help me welcome Mercy Wangoi on stage as she presents her paper. Hey, makofi ya Mercy. Karibu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. As she has introduced me, I am Mercy. I am going to be addressing the gap between the educational system and the professional world in stage management in Kenya. The modern concept of stage management was established at the start of the 20th century. And in the recent years, we have seen a growing interest in stage management in Kenya, raising the question, how significant is the disconnect between our educational system and the professional world? This paper seeks to address the question by exploring who's a stage manager, what are their roles, and the significance they hold in a production. So, the primary departments in theater productions that are often recognized by many, acting, directing, and producing. However, the technical aspects, such as lighting design, sound design, scenic design, and stage management are equally critical but less well known. The technical aspects include roles like the stage manager, the technical director, sound and light technician, and also sound and light designer. Those are very two different roles. A technician and a designer are different. And then there's a scenic designer, the assistant stage manager, stage crew, and a fly operator. So who is a stage manager? A stage manager is often described to as a chaos coordinator. The stage manager is the crucial person who ensures smooth communication and coordination across all production departments. They act as a central point of contact, relaying information accurately and promptly to avoid misunderstandings. According to Doris Schneider in The Art and Craft of Stage Management, she emphasizes that collaboration and its facilitation are the central responsibilities of a stage manager, making them the heart of the production. Mike Lower, in the Career in Technical Theater, elaborates that a stage manager collects and tracks every single detail of a production. That is cast list, crew list, costume list, light list, prop list, lighting cues, sound cues, dialogue changes, and blocking. These details are meticulously recorded in a document called the prompt book, described as the Bible of the show. The prompt book is what we use to run our shows, be it theater production, be it a conference. What is used to run that show is called a prompt book. This book ensures that there is continuity and clarity, allowing the assistant stage manager to take over seamlessly if needed. Pauline Mayer and Terry Hawkins, in their guide, Stage Management and Theater Administration, emphasizes that a stage manager must be versatile and understand the roles in theater. This knowledge helps them anticipate problems and coordinate the different areas of collaboration on the production. They advocate for stage managers to acquire comprehensive knowledge through theater courses, workshops, seminars, and relevant literature. So how do we bridge this gap between the education system and our professional world? So the disconnect between the two in stage management lies in the practical application of the skills. While education systems provide a fundamental knowledge and the dynamic and unpredictability of nature of live theater, unpredictability of live theater demands experiential learning and adaptability that can only be gained through professional experience. Educational institutions need to offer more hands-on training, opportunities, internships, and collaboration with professional theaters to bridge this gap. Integrating real-world experience into academic curricula can better prepare students for the demands of the professional stage management roles. Partnerships between schools and the professional theater, such as the Kenya National Theatre, can provide students with valuable insights and hands-on experience in stage management. Workshops, internship, mentorship programs can further prepare them for what the professional world demands of a stage manager. And to narrow this divide between the education and the professional world in stage management, institutions must prioritize practical training opportunities, internships, and collaboration with the theaters. By integrating these experiences into the academic curricula, educational programs can better equip these students. We will look at various case studies, one of them being the Kenya International Theatre Festival. And in the year 2022, they introduced the stage management department working with a professional stage manager. The technical meetings that involved both local and international teams facilitated a mutual understanding, making sure the shows had a smoothless transitions. Our local stage managers did not have any formal education in stage management, hence benefiting from specific training sessions with international stage managers and making sure their successful transitions between the shows and the technical rehearsals were smoothly done. In 2022, Wood Creek School staged Mekatilili wa Menza with the help of a professional stage manager. This collaboration highlighted the importance of integrating a professional stage manager into the educational setting. The seamless transitions, effective coordination, and overall success of the production, which won several awards during the Kenya Theatre Awards, underscored the benefits of a professional stage manager who could communicate and collaborate with all departments effectively. With the stage manager taking over the show Mekatilili wa Menza, the director could step back, confident that the production was in capable hands. The professional stage manager's ability to integrate the teachers and the students into the professional expectations of the industry showed that the show was not only a learning experience, but also a demonstration of what the industry standards are. The production success and the awards it garnered during the highlight and the tangible benefits of the professional stage manager in the educational system. The experience of Wood Creek with a professional stage manager revealed a gap between the theatrical knowledge provided by educational system and the practical demands of the professional world. While education programs offer foundational knowledge, the hands-on experience and real-time problem-solving skills of a professional stage manager significantly enhance the quality of a production. We shall briefly watch behind the scenes of Betrayal in the City, of how the scene changes were planned out by the stage manager. As you can see, able to transition from one scene into another, which took practice for like 2 days, and really everyone getting and making sure they know where they're supposed to take their things. We'll watch another video of a stage manager calling lighting cues. Could we start it again? Could we start it again with the volume at the right place? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. As you can see, the stage manager is the one who was running the show. In conclusion, stage management stands as a cornerstone of the theatrical creativity, demanding a blend of organization prowess, technical acumen, and collaborative finesse. Addressing the gap between the educational system and the professional world necessitates a proactive approach. By enhancing practical learning opportunities and fostering industry collaborations, educational institutions can better prepare future stage managers to meet the multifaceted challenges of the professional theater effectively. The holistic approach ensures that stage management education evolves in tandem with industry demands, nurturing skilled professionals capable of driving successful productions worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy. I told you you'll enjoy to listening to her. Thank you so much, Mercy, and for the call of educators to take stage management seriously and even include it in the curriculum. So the next presenter will listen to them. There are two presenting a paper on amplification of traditional theater, a podcast approach, and that's Gitonga James and Anthony Mukasa Mate, and we'll listen to them virtually. Are we just waiting for the control room? All right, thank you so much for your patience. I want us to move to the next presenters. And we have two amazing presenters. And one of them is a lecturer of music and theater studies at Maseno University, and a graduate of Stellenbosch University of South Africa with a doctorate degree. And she also graduated from Kenyatta University with a Bachelor's of Education and MA. She's also a music composer and educator. Allow me to welcome Dr. Jackie Zinale Bulinda on stage. A round of applause as she comes on stage. And the co-author of the paper is Dennis Tongoi. He's a resident and born in Vihiga County. He holds a BD Arts from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology with a whopping second-class honors upper division. He is a student of Masters of Arts in Project Planning and Management at Maseno University. He's also a ward administrator at the county government of Vihiga and also a writer. Dennis Tongoi, welcome on stage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our presentation today is entitled The Road Safety Sonnet, Narrating Tensions of Accidents and Students' Welfare in Dennis Tongoi's poetry. And Dennis Tongoi is the gentleman that I present to you today. He is the author or the poet that wrote the poem, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Do you know it? Okay. So, our presentation plan for this paper is that we'll begin with an introduction, some introduction remarks that reads the state of accidents in the country, and perhaps just a little bit of a background of what has happened with regard to student accidents. Secondly, we will so much look into the action plan, whereby we are focusing on the role of the arts, and specifically poetry, in attending to the issue of accidents, and as it looks at the role, the welfare of the child who is the student or the learner. And finally, we'll also look at the poems themselves and give it a slight analysis to see how its content has revoked the issue of accidents, and at the same time, it has looked at making the accident issue to be curbed. Introduction. The Global Road Safety Facility reports that Kenya is among the countries with the highest road crash rates in the world. The same report states that between 2016 and 2024, the country Kenya has registered about or approximately 3,000 deaths annually resulting from the fatal carnages. Further, the data indicates that there's a gradual increase in the road traffic accidents, costing the country something between 3 to 4% of its gross domestic product. Next slide. As we can see, okay, the road carnages have actually been those that have been about students have between 2023 and 2024, we've seen that there have been between 1,121 deaths in 2024 and 2023, and now 1,189 up to April 2024. Now, the current paper actually focuses on accidents that between 2023 and 2024, and specifically those that involve and affect the students. In our sample, we find that, next slide, we find that we have a sample of road carnages, sorry, a disclaimer early, that the pictures we're going to share are part of what has happened in the country. The onset of our study and what actually led us to start looking into the issue of road carnages was the Pwani University road accident that took place in March 30th, 2023. The university took place at, the accident was at Kayole area in Naivasha, and it claimed 16 lives, comprising of students and the university staff. Next, we have the Kenyatta University road accident that took place in 18th of March 2024, and it claimed 11 lives. We have also interest in the Londiani road accident, and this accident is one that took place at Londiani. It claimed 52 lives. The vendors who work at Londiani lost their lives by some trailer that crashed them. It ran into them and crashed them. And then we also have further institutions of learning. For example, we have students in Chavakali High School who lost lives. We also have students who are attending a music festival in Nakuru last year, and even this year there have been road crashes. Of course, maybe not fatal, but we have other students in Kisii University whose accidents, not Kisii, but Kisii, a school in Kisii that lost lives. 3 of them lost lives because they were celebrating their new school bus. So next we go to the remedies that we take, or we think need to be taken, or that have been taken as action for road safety. Part of these remedies are laws, others are acts, others are guidelines provided by the National Road Transport and Safety Authority, and others are campaigns. The UN, for instance, has declared time between 2021 and 2031 a decade for action for road safety. IRAP, the International Road Assessment Program, is a registered charity which works in consultation with Kenya, and it has declared a 5-year plan up to 2028 to help curb road accidents in Kenya. The Traffic Act, CAP 403, and NTSA provides school transport safety guidelines to enhance transportation of schools and college students in Kenya. And owing to the surge of road accidents, the government decided on having intensified crackdowns as part of the remedies. There have been other control trials that were done, those that relate mostly to the arts. They've been done by William Luck and James Habyarimana from Georgetown University. It doesn't mean that there have not been such attention spaces in Kenya. There are, but now we look at this because these particular ones actually relate with road accidents. These 2 professors advocate for more randomized campaign spots, such as newspapers and print media. They advocate for radio spots, they advocate for television spots, billboards, and social media. Our focus mostly is on social media, and in Kenya, what has happened as part of the campaign, which relates mostly to the arts, is the Zusha campaign. In the Zusha campaign of 2015, a time came when the government decided that text be written on papers and this be stuck on matatus, so that people Zusha, Kuzusha is to speak out. The populace was asked to speak to matatu drivers. When the errant drivers were asked immediately to stop driving in poor ways, and therefore it was one of the ways to curb road safety. This paper actually adapts an arts-oriented control measures, which are mostly a response to this, a remedy to this issue. And in the paper, we argue that the remedies that have taken place, the reports, the laws, the guidelines, all of them mostly are not focused to the road user. At times, they come in as documents that are kept for disciplining people or drivers who have taken, who have made such mistakes as causing the accidents. We decide that the social media is what we pick on, and poetry, which is an art, is what will come in to assist in this issue of road carnage. And we have sampled 2 poems. The first one is Mama, I'm Coming Home by Dennis Tongoi, and the second one is Oh Londiani. You can now see why our sample is the way it was. I'll request that there is a video that we request it be played as we see what is, the text is what is on the board here, but we'll take it up with a video.
Back to their duties like nothing happened.
Thank you.
Mama,
the poem actually continues from there.
Mama.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. At the very beginning, she said that I am the author of that poem, and I'll pick it from there. My name is Tongoi Dennis. This poem originally saw the space of social media in response to the Pwani accident that happened in March 2023. This poem was posted first on my Facebook account, but with time it has found itself in different social media spaces, and it has been recited by several artists, including one Nyakundi, the artist that has just been shown on our screens here. The poem also has found a lot of reception on several WhatsApp groups, Twitter accounts, YouTube, among others. Actually, this poem received over 1 million views on Nyakundi's YouTube handle. Now, we are saying that this is a sonnet. Our poem has taken the structure of a sonnet because it is addressing issues of death that comes along with a lot of sadness. Additionally, as compared to sonnets, which are songs, our poem here also can be said to be a song, because I have seen so many artists recite it in the form of a song, and accidents actually have the nature in Kenya of happening again and again, the prevalent nature of accidents. The poem is also considered a sonnet because of its high expressive and communicative value. And actually they form a significant, timely, and innovative way of expressing issues of national concern. Road safety, road accidents, road carnages are matters of national concerns. Now, how did we make, or rather, how did I make this poem expressive in order to capture the emotions of Kenyans? How did this poem, in a very short time, travel the boundaries of Kenya? One, we created relatable characters. You can see we've introduced the character of Mama, we've introduced the character of the driver who is Jomba, we've introduced the siblings to those who passed on. As you continue reading the poem, actually you will find out all that. We used sensory language. We are describing the coffin. We are describing the coffin as a box. We are actually describing the formless nature of the victims who unfortunately passed away. We are using metaphors and symbolism, so many of them in the poem. For example, the victim who actually takes the position of a corpse, a deceased student, tells the mother she appreciates that she sold the only cow, Rosa, to raise school fees. Rosa is used symbolically to show the struggles our parents go through in raising school fees. We have used a lot of imagery and figurative language, pacing and sentence structure. I have used very short sentences in this poem. When I say, Mama, I'm coming home, that actually brings out a lot of memory. When I say, bye, Mama, that actually brings a lot of memory. We have issues that the poem clearly tries to bring out. We have issues, causes of accidents. We have a lot of scholarly articles. I will cite one by Mogambi and Nyakeni of 2015, which points causes of accidents to reckless driving, overspeeding, maybe bad roads, but my poem exonerates careless drivers. It exonerates the driver of Pwani University and points to the cause of the accident as mechanical, actually the failure of brakes. There is the issue of unreliable reports, and with reference to Kamau and others of 2020, which states that most of this information relies on reports given by eyewitnesses. This poem is bringing us reliable, timely, in-depth, objective, and first-hand information as it is, because it is being narrated by the victim themselves. We have other issues like effects of accidents, which range from physical effects, psychological effects, fear and anxiety, behavioral changes, academic effects. Academic is actually disrupted and discontinued. For those with injuries, a lot of time spent in hospitals. For those who die, actually their academics is discontinued. We have mitigation of these issues. The poem provides, it comes as a tool of counseling and psychological support. When the victim tells the mother, please tell my sister to take my desk at Pwani University, it is an emotional control to give the parent hope. I'll bring Dr. Jackie back to conclude. Thank you.
In conclusion, we think that learners in this poem and another poem that is Londiani in which the learner, I think we've not actually given the poem to you, but the child character in that poem is crying about the mother who has been crushed. And he remains behind to mourn the mother, and he remains behind to remind the society that the mother has gone, and yet there are very many welfare issues that she needed to take care of. So the learner in Londiani is alive, and the learner in Mama, I'm Coming Home is dead. These two speakers in the poem represent the dependent population of Kenyans that are afflicted socially, physically, emotionally, and economically due to issues, road accidents. We also say that poems come in at the deeper end, where at the first end, we have reports. The reports, the laws, and the guidelines stand at the periphery. They are very far from the child, the student. Secondly, after the reports, we have other means by which the learner can be reached. But we think the arts are better off because these arts are well structured and they're emotive enough to successfully address the issue of road carnage. They successfully address the issue of road carnage because they are emotional enough and they reach this child, and in that manner, it is possible to successfully have this issue curbed because they will be careful they'll be careful people during their time. The paper concluded that leveraging the performing arts to address such social issues will promote road safety and positive national transformation. Thank you.
And just like the poem, Mama, I'm Coming Home, I request you allow us to go back to our mama back home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. You can just be seated. So in the interest of time, I'd like us to listen to Gitonga James and Anthony Mukasa Mate virtually, and they will be presenting on amplification of traditional theater, a podcast approach.
I start my presentation. My name is Gitonga James. I'm making a presentation alongside Dr. Mukasa from Chuka University. And our presentation is titled Amplification of Traditional Theater, a podcast approach. Amplification of Traditional Theater, a podcast approach. And I start with an introduction by saying that the goals for a culturally responsible human technology interaction design have been and are being made by the internationalization, localization process. And I pose the fundamental question: what can enhance a concrete unification of traditional theater and technology for availing of the traditional theater to a wider audience? Therefore, our study is geared towards bringing the traditional theater to the modern society, and therefore we are using the podcast approach as a mechanism. So the study presents the concept of the podcast as an amplifier of traditional theatre. The study, the theoretical framework that we used in our study, we seen that although there are few theoretical models to guide a culture responsive technology design, these people address the facets of the problem from the interdisciplinary perspective of cognitive science while utilizing Roger Pineda's synthesized theoretical understanding of a culturally responsive human-technology interaction. And this approach will open possibilities for innovations which improves the quality of life, cognizant of the fact that all the world is a stage and all the men and women merely players. Therefore, the podcast approach would catalyze the playing while highlighting with theatrical finesse the traditional and modern aspects of human connectivity. Our study is hinged on the objective to investigate how the podcast approach amplifies the traditional theatre. The statement of the problem, we think that literary scholarship on traditional theatre has for a long time ignored the amplification of the same to reach a wider audience. However, this study fills the gap by evaluating how the podcast is an approach to amplification of traditional theatre. And we look at podcast as a theatre amplifier, and quoting a Masler, 2004, who came up with the term podcast. He coined the term podcast, but it has been problematic to define podcast, what entails podcast, due to the fact that it is often used to describe both the thing being transmitted and the technical basis that allows for its transmission. Now, according to the American Oxford Dictionary, the podcast is a material made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or portable media player, or a series of such files, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. Then, this study poses the question, how has the historiography of African theatre been? It has been, remember, the African theatre has been altered by the European perspectives such as colonialism. And I'm looking at a scholar like Kerr, 1995, who avers that there has been a heated debate as to whether drama did or did not exist in pre-colonial Africa, and what extent it could or should be distinguished from rituals. I believe that much of this confusion is caused by using English ones like drama, theatre, and rituals, which are loaded with meanings derived from European rather than African culture. And we're looking at the traditional theatre, and more so the African theatre, which was a theatre that was localized. It was a local theatre. And of course, this traditional theatre, especially the African theatre, entailed physical communal performances, individual artistic display, variety, and most importantly, uniqueness in terms of time. Now, this study poses the questions, how then is the podcast imperative in amplifying the traditional theatre? Is the podcast the right medium for such a role? Now, the traditional theatre has been oral since performance entailed the use of gestures, body movements, and verbalizing of words, tunes, sounds, utterances, sounds concomitant with the performer's intention. And we are looking at the study of Linares et al. 2018, who suggests that podcasting taps into something fundamental about oral communication that demonstrates a distinctively different sound aesthetic and offers a new form in that it has facilitated entry into the creative production of audio for individuals and groups with no broadcasting background. Now, consider the interview. I conducted an interview, I and Mwiti at Kwamungania with Sameru traditional performers. So in this interview that I conducted, it has been in my phone for several days. But when I uploaded this interview, I created a podcast on buzzsprout.com and on StreamYard, my podcast titled Tosh the philosopher.com, founder of the Meru Culture and Podcasting. After I uploaded the interview on May 26, 2024, it was available to a community of podcasters. And therefore, if I didn't use the podcast, it means this data will still remain where it was. It will remain with the hot people, because one of the interviewees was 99 years, Mzee Maimbo, and Mzee Mongera 78 years, and Mzee Muturia 70 years. So it means if I didn't upload it in the podcast for many people to access it, it will remain localized in the community. So the podcast was a good medium to disseminate the traditional theater. And at the same time, I'm looking at the interview carried in October 2023 by Spotify, which was at the Center of Culture Con, New York, a weekend-long event that made space for creators of color to talk, hang, and network, along with hosting the official Culture Con playlist. So after these people of color doing this interview, and then it was posted in podcast, it was available to so many people in Ghana and other countries. And therefore they realized that even the people of color who are discriminated can still avail their culture, their theater to a wider audience in the world. And therefore, this study describes podcasting in theater amplification as a linking genre between the past and the present, the analog and the digital, the peripherized and the center. And therefore, also we found out that with technological advancement, with increased modernization, the gap between the traditional African theater widens and increases. And therefore, the study also calls for a platform to interlink the gap between and avail the past to the present. And the podcast is such a medium of telling the field domiciled theater to the world audience through a techno-powered narrative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you once again for your patience. Our next presenter is Nana Fredua. And he'll be presenting on performing arts scene in Ghana, and I'd like us to listen to him virtually.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I was supposed to be there physically, but as it were, that God's had it that I should stay in Ghana and talk to you virtually. If I were physically present, my presentation will probably be longer than I'm going to make it. And it's sort of extempo, although I've forwarded bullet points about the direction I want to take. My interest, first of all, let me just set my records. I chair the board of the National Theatre of Ghana. My background is not in the performing arts, though it's something of a hobby, and I call myself a backbencher activist for the arts in Ghana. So I chair the board of the National Theatre. And in my experience over the period that I've chaired the board, I've been exposed to the shortcomings of the industry from the external forces, whether it's political, social habits, or whether it's the corporate world, whatever. So that's one. And then from internal, whether it's the people in the sector themselves who are dealing themselves short on what will help improve the industry. I don't claim to be an expert on it, but based on that, it's given me a new angle to looking at life and how we can positively affect lives, socially and culturally, in our various countries and across the continent. And so I've taken my general topic has been titled Africanizing Theatre, a perspective for the future. Now, where have we come from? Like the previous speaker, James, highlighted, you know, is it that the Europeans who taught us what theatre is? I disagree, and I agree with him. We've had our own form of theatre from time immemorial, and when you come to Ghana, if you go to our palaces, for example, how meetings are handled and all that can be almost put into the structure of theatre, because if you have Durbers, you have music, you have dance. When you have linguists speaking on behalf of our traditional rulers, you could almost say that they were dramatizing. So there are all forms of that. I know that there's some great names in Kenya, for example, who have in their past given productions that will probably reveal the cultural greatness of the various Kenyan ethnicities, Kikuyu and all of that. So there's a lot that we can learn from our past. Now, what are the landmarks that we're looking at? The introduction of Western style theatre, from when it has come into Africa, structuring it in the detail that we've heard some of the previous speakers talk about. You know, even with the poets talking about sonnets and all of that. If you don't go into a Western educational system, you don't get to know that. But we all agree that when we go into our hometowns, our villages, there are people who have come up with poems without this type of demarcations into its structure. What are we doing about that? So that even if the person was not fortunate enough to go to university to learn these things, they're still able to know within our language, our languages, that these are the opportunities that help them better develop their works. Are there genres in African theatre? I'm sure there are many. I haven't done the research, and for some reason I found it more important not to do the research, but to make the argument, because I think that it allows for a certain depth of my passion about the issue. But if there are genres, where are their origins? How do we discuss them? How do we exhibit them? How do we make people proud of them? How do we make people appreciate them, so that there's reason to come to see our works, our productions? Those are all very important eventually to the marketing of our products, letting people come to see our products. And by the way, in Ghana, while some productions are very popular, they have to go through a whole lot of marketing. And I don't see a problem with having to market your product. I see a problem when you've done a lot of marketing and your results are not as effective. And it's simply because people have a certain perception of the production you're putting out. And they don't fully appreciate where it's going to go for us. And so that's why I find these things very important. What does all of this taken? Where has it taken us? Where has it brought us? What is it for local attraction, local content, identity, African linkages, political voices? I'm talking about when we haven't fully adopted what I would consider to be a fully Africanized theatre. And it doesn't mean when I say Africanized theatre that we cannot borrow from other spaces, but it's to say that it should be clearly identified as African theatre. After all, why? We know that even the English language we use borrows from French and Latin and a whole host of other languages. Just as our individual indigenous languages do the same. So that's not the point. The point is, when it's all said and done, is this African theater. And so we're looking at its effect on political voices, social development, and economic status. I was listening closely to this presentation about theater's effect. And I'm using performing arts and theater interchangeably. The performing arts effect on, for example, trying to curb road accidents in Kenya. I mean, in Ghana, when it's been applied, it's worked. When it has been applied, it's worked on a whole lot of social things. So where has it taken us? But then are we using it effectively and far enough? And are we reaching our people through the language? And when I say language, not just words from our mouths, but our gestures, our way of doing things. Are we reaching our people in the way that they understand? Not the way we want to impose on them because we went to university to learn to speak English. So now it brings me quickly to where should we go? What am I trying to argue for? I'm trying to say that we need to build pride in ourselves. I accept that unfortunately, if you come to Ghana, for example, the history of my people, I'm from Achimebwakwa, which is in the eastern region of Ghana. If I took the history of my people, a good chunk of it has been documented by foreigners, missionaries who came to Ghana. But you see, so what? The fact is that there's oral tradition, there's oral history, and there are some basic things that we can pick up to recognize that our history is not, while it's documented by the missionaries, it doesn't take away from the basic facts about who we are. Now, how are we projecting that so that young people can see in themselves a certain pride, so that they don't try to exhibit Western influence? Those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about, and therefore how it affects our economics, how it affects our politics, how it affects our social connections, our communities. Those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about. If we took pride, and I'm saying this because I believe that the performing arts is actually the air of society. In other words, when you've projected who you are in this form, people pay attention faster, and therefore things are easier to assimilate. History is passed on when it's dramatized. It's best passed on when it's dramatized. Pride, confidence in who you are is best passed on when it's dramatized. When your father or mother tells you you're a great child, you will grow to be a great person, and then they dramatize what they envisage for you. You grow up believing in that and working for it. So I'm trying to argue that when we do our performing arts things, is it not time that in Kenya, they look at Kenyan history beyond colonialism into who we are, where we came from, how we ended up where we are, the great names of the past, men and women who have in various ways, and we tend to think great things are big things, but it's actually great small things that are great things, that the small things that help our societies, that are great things. So how are we projecting those names in those villages and those towns who help make the history of those communities, and therefore give our youth a certain pride in who we are beyond what they tend to rely on. And they're heavily relying on Western culture. That's a matter of fact. They are heavily relying on Western culture. And I'm arguing that our forefathers were people to be proud of. Our forebears were people to be proud of. And so the performing arts should be geared, especially in our African performing arts, should be heavily geared towards looking into our past, projecting principles of our people, the values of our people, and projecting that into the future. Based on where we want to go, it's easy for us to determine and develop our own future instead of depending on somebody's everything in order to determine ours. And that's what we're doing. We tend to claim to be independent about things. But if AI doesn't come, we don't think AI. When AI comes, what they say AI can do is what we think AI can do. When you have, we're just talking about podcasts. Why aren't we projecting a future where our own youth develop their own things, be it technology or some social machines that are indigenous to us? You don't have to wait for somebody to manufacture it from their minds or their factories and send it to us. And I think that the performing arts has a major role in doing this for us. We talk about politics. I'm not going to go into the sensitivities these days, but it's happening. What is projecting in Kenya is projecting across Africa. A lot of young people are thinking that they should follow Kenya. I argue that Kenya is a different call. What Kenyans know and do about their country is not the same as what would happen in that. So you might have the kind of what I believe are positive results from the protests in Kenya may not necessarily reflect in Ghana because there's something missing or not in the right place for Ghana. So, but if we're talking the right, telling the right story, projecting the right images, telling ourselves about the right principles that are ours, when it's projected through the performing arts, dance, drama, spoken word, music, when we project it in pride with our language. I was looking at the performance where they were speaking one of the Kenyan languages. When you project that, I'm watching it and I don't understand the word, but I'm sitting back and because of where my thinking is, I'm proud watching it. And that's what we should be pushing. And we should push it across borders so that we're working hand in hand. Kenya and Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, wherever, and particularly so sub-Saharan Africa. We should be working hand in hand to make these things work and make them strong policies of governments across. And it should make, therefore, other things very easy to access. I'm arguing, for example, that when we're solidified,
Of time, we are going to pick 3 questions. Kindly be very brief and straight to the point. First 3 round of questions. Anyone who wants to ask our panelists? Yes, there's a hand over there. Girl child. Yes, there's a hand here, Wahome and Tracy Kibue. Be very brief and straight to the point.
Thank you. I have only one question to Mercy Wangui on stage management. I was wondering from the previous papers that we have enjoyed, is not artificial intelligence going to take over the stage management, or what was I thinking?
Okay, my question is to Mr. Dennis. You mentioned about poetry having emotional and psychological impacts to accident victims and their families. So my question is, are there any other impacts that poetry could contribute to the accident situation, or are we just limited to this one impact? Thank you.
Good evening. My question is to Mercy. I wanted to ask you, do you have like maybe a structured curriculum or program that can be incorporated in the education level to help with the stage management and can be easily applied once the person is in the field? And I want to say to Dennis and Jacqueline, thank you. That paper was emotional.
Okay. I'll start with the AI question, taking over stage management. As Brenda Juma did her paper in regards to costume design and technology, she also highlighted that a costume, even if costumes are AI is helping us design some of the costumes, you still need a seamstress to repair the costume. Same applies to stage management. The AI, I have not yet tried this, but I will try. It might be able to help you create a prompt book if you feed it the details. But you still need a physical person to run the show, because AI will not be there to say, go lights, go sound, go scene change, will not be there to carry the props in and out. Basically, the stage manager is the one who's coordinating all those things. So it might be able to help us generate documents, but the physical person to run the production, AI may not be able to help us to do that. So it is something that will still continue being there. Secondly, in regards to program, yes, there are master classes that I am personally holding. The curriculum, the TVET curriculum has a course in stage management, a unit in stage management. It exists, but it is not practical oriented. It is very theoretical. I have looked at it. I have had students who have gone through it and still say it still needs more practical elements infused into it. Yes.
Thank you. I've been asked, I don't know by who, to highlight any other roles our poetry has, apart from the emotional and the psychological impact. And true to it, as our pieces try to bring emotional solace and psychological control to the public, we also, through poetry, bring a lot of issues of national concern. And with regard to the poems we highlighted, issues of road safety have been communicated, issues of university students' welfare have been communicated. When we say students traveled in a faulty bus, the question that begs is, what is their welfare? Why would you release a bus that is not in good mechanical image? Thank you.
Maybe I can just add something to that, that the other role of these poems and poetry was to educate, to console, to sensitize the community on happenings with regard to road carnage, to speak a level of truth, because we have said that the reports remain at the level of disciplining and informing other people other than the people who are concerned with the issues. And then we also say that these poems position the artist as a social philosopher. That is to say that the artist is speaking issues of community concern. The artist is representing the community in a way that wouldn't have been represented by anyone else. And to add to that, the poems position art as an ideal, or poetry as a venture that can take part in issues of national concern. And then it positions the social media as a community's corrective space, because the poems, once created, they were sent to the mass media. When they were sent to the mass media, they actually did a lot of rounds and very fast. But if I could ask, does any of us know the law that governs road safety? We may not even be knowing what law it is. Do we know that the NTSA has reports that are sent to schools to curb road safety? We do not know that. But when the poem was sent to the mass media actually is an active social space that corrects issues such as that. And then finally, the poet who sits here with us, Mr. Tongoi, provides an individuated voice. That is a voice in which one artist speaks the voice of many community members. So many issues that concern the community have been spoken so silently in the poem, but very loudly to a very wide space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackie, Dennis Tongoi, and Mercy Wangui for those insightful presentations. Thank you so much, and I also want to appreciate the audience for being such an amazing audience. Because of the interest of time, I'll throw it back to Dr. Shikuku to take us through the next bit of the program. Thank you so much. It was nice having you.
And do it right. She taught me how to be a certified liquor and do it well and make her come quicker. And now I do it like no other. I'll make any woman leave her man. So young girls, you better stop playing. I give her that good love. I give her that good love. I give her that.
As we wait for Dr. Shikuku, probably Alex, Dennis Tongoi. Yes, because I was listening, you have a very powerful poem, but I don't understand why you call it a sonnet and not an elegy or dramatic monologue. And I'm saying this because sometimes as African creatives, many times whatever we create, we try to force it to fit into Eurocentric forms. Yet, this conference is about being innovative, and that particular poem is quite innovative. But if you try to force it the sonnet way, then it fails. Because sonnet is very rigid. You only have 14 lines, iambic pentametered lines. That is, you're dealing with, for those who know what you mean by iambic, you have 10 syllables per line, and it's rising and falling, so that 5 weak syllables and 5 strong syllables. You're also talking about a quatrain, 3 quatrains with a certain rhyming scheme. It's so complicated, it's so pedantic. So sometimes we need to appreciate whatever we create, even if it doesn't fit into what already exists. Probably we'll come up with a name for it. I always ask my students, can't I come up with something that cannot be called poetry or prose or drama? Probably if you may want to call it, you can call it prosoetry or prosoeto drama or whatever you want to call it. We need to open our minds and come up with new forms without looking at Eurocentric forms as the standard of, of whatever you want to create. I can see Dr. Shikuku is here now. I was just...
Sorry, gentlemen and ladies, I had to organize the incoming panel. Allow me to call on stage my colleague in the profession, Dr. Fred Mbogo, to take us through the next phase. Daktari, karibu.
Good evening, good afternoon, I think. I want to call on stage Lexus Mshairi. And yes. I'm supposed at this stage to introduce him, big titles and things like that, and some of the poetry, ama mashairi ambayo ametunga. But karibu tu kwenye kiti. And then the next person I want to invite is called Oyamo Richard. Oyamo. Yeah. And I think what we are going to do is just maybe have a conversation. I think, yeah. The point is to have a conversation. And I think we are supposed to have a nice conversation. So please try and put your attitude together for the sake of this nice conversation. I think we'll start with Lexus Mshairi. You just tell us easily about who you are.
Okay. Hi guys. Mko poa? Nimeacha wasa wamelalala, so making sure we're alive. So my name is
Professor Kiongea ama nini?
My name is Lexus, L-E-X-A-S, Lexus Mshairi. I am a multidisciplinary artist. What I mean by that is I am a performing poet.
See Mimi. Okay. I'm excited.
Yes, so I am a performing poet, an instrumentalist, a songwriter. I am an author of a Sheng Kamba poetry anthology called Roga Nisiroge. I am a digital artist, so I create 2D animation and I illustrate. I'm a art therapist, so I went to KU. I have a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in sociology. Actually, Dr. Shikuku ndo alikuwa ananipea chance ya kuperform Culture Week. So now that we are here, it's very funny that he actually gave me a platform and has given me another platform right here. That is very beautiful. We used to perform with Oyamo those many years back, and now we are getting a platform again here to talk about that. I'm also a co-founder of Rafinki. And just briefly, Rafinki comes from the word Rafiki, but the reason we have N between I and K is because of the ink. We are friends united by ink. Get it? Yeah? Nice, nice, nice. We're on the same frequency, okay.
So I think that's very nice. Lakini kwa sababu he has said that he does poetry pia in Kikamba.
Yes.
So I'm going to challenge him to give us a poem in Kikamba, a verse tu, yani
Okay.
hata kama ni 2 lines, tuna tamaa ya Kikamba.
Sawa.
Haya.
Mami kivela ni chaka mota. Tata mutwaite chumwa. Tate mosa weani. Ndwene meani. That in English is
Pigeni makofi kwanza, pigeni makofi. Asante sana. Haya,
That in English is mother behind father's motorcycle. He is taking her to church. He is taking her from work. Don't they look lovely?
Wow, okay. I think I just love this. Let's listen to Oyamo. Tuambie, majina yako ni Oyamo Richard. Tuambie, who are you?
Thank you. Yes, my name is Oyamo Richard. I am I'm a writer, I am an editor, and I'm a teaching artist. And I'm also a co-founder of Rafinki. And yes, as you saw in the morning session, I'm a performing poet. That's it.
Okay, that sounds interesting. You know, I'm used to poets having dreadlocks, so I'm a little like impressed by. What else do you do? What is your poetry all about? What direction do you take your poetry?
Well, I don't really confine myself in maybe a certain theme. Basically what I do is I write poetry and perform poetry that is drawn from day-to-day inspiration. This is my anthology, I'm holding it here. And it has around 80 poems, around 5 different themes. So that's just to say that I'm that versatile. And even when performing, I perform Swahili poems, like proper Swahili. Yeah, and at times I do English. So I'm that
Tupe
versatile.
kionjo.
Okay. Akawaza awapigie simu, akakumbuka Siawa na shida zao. Awapigie simu, akakumbuka hawa na shida zao. Hivi sasa ameketi sakafuni. Upande wake wa kushoto ni yale matapishi ya juzi. Macho yake ameelekeza televisheni. Haangalii, hatazami, ni macho tu ameelekeza. Mkono wake wa kulia ni kijembe ameshikilia. Alafu anaanza kutafuta mishipa. Anaanza kukatakata. Anakatakata alafu damu inaanza kutiririka, tiriri. Alafu anakata roho.
Asante, huyo ni
Thank
Oyamo
you.
Richard, asante sana. So, let's go back to Mshairi. What inspires your poetry? Why, for example, this poem you've done in Kikamba hivi?
Yeah.
That's your kind of poetry, isn't it?
Yes, Kikamba and a lot of Sheng and a lot of that, yeah.
So what inspires your poetry? What makes you do that poetry?
I can say from a lot of life experiences and from a lot of research, but I try so much to document the human experience. Yeah, and part of that too, like part of the conversation too, is finding a way to provide a platform for the poetry in terms of concept poetry theatrical shows. And part of that is, like, in how poetry or spoken word has evolved in the country is in the last, or somewhere in around 2008, people met in a particular club and people were performing punchline poetry and they were doing it for the fun of entertaining people. And now that has kind of evolved to be more of a more well thought out production where you have a storyline before you create what you're creating. For me, in like staging Roga Nisiroge, I wrote Roga Nisiroge for 1.5 years. And so like the ideation of that and now staging it on this platform like is kind of interesting because it's the way that you're staging it is very complicated. It's not like how you have an MC in between your sets. It's the MC came on stage, introduced your show, went out and you did an entire production that looks like a play. And then once you're done, then people will say what they got from that. At least one of the comments that I got from a friend who I actually met today from last year is that the production that we did was hypnotic. Because I am a mganga, I come from Ukambani, so mi unaroga watu.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Do you do any poetry in any other platforms? Have you? Okay, yeah, it's easy to say platforms. Have you tried to? You know, yesterday we had people talking about artificial intelligence and technology and so on. Have you tried to incorporate any aspects of artificial intelligence and all these fancy things that they talk to us about?
Fancy things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say entirely, but my transition in the poetry scene is finding a more broader way to sell my work digitally. Because it's easy for me to stand on a stage and say, I do poetry and you guys will listen to me. But at the end of the day, I need to convert my numbers online to make people come to my show. So that, in a sense, is why partly I mentioned animation, because then I have to find multidisciplinary ways of selling the craft. So, yeah.
Okay, I like that. I wanted to ask Oyamo, you know, I mean, you've gone to the difficult task of actually getting published. I don't know if it's difficult. You have a publishing house, you have someone who has published you. I wanted to know if you can tell people here, some people here are poets also, and they would love to publish. Would you just give them a story about your journey to publishing? Is that your first publication?
Yes, this is my first solo publication. Luckily, I happened to be published in other poetry anthologies before, but it was more of a collection from a number of writers. So this is the first one that I did as a solo project. And my journey was quite different in the sense that people started asking, when are we having your own book out? And when people started asking and having been published alongside people with names in the scene, I felt probably I'm ripe enough to publish my book. So what I did is I sourced some funds, approached a publishing house. The publishing house also published a book for Rafiki. So I had that connection with them. I happened to be connected by a lecturer. So I approached them and shared my idea about the book. So the editor asked me to share the poems. I remember sharing around 130 poems. And then it went through the editing process. They were cut down to 80. And then the next step was buying of the ESBN number, copywriting. We had to create the cover page. And yeah, that was it. Then we went to the production phase, which is the printing of the copies. Yes.
Okay. I'm actually impressed. Congratulations for that, I think.
Thank you.
Would you, for the purpose of our audience here, perhaps you can pick the best poem you think is in there and just give us a read.
The best poem?
Yeah.
I don't think
does
can
the pressure
do
increase
that.
or decrease?
Increases. I don't think I can choose a best poem.
Okay, a sweet poem.
Okay, let me see.
So we can dedicate it to someone in the audience, perhaps. Or they are not sweet. Yeah. No pressure. No pressure.
It increases or decreases?
Yeah. Do you have publications of your own?
Yes, I have written the Roga Nisiroge book, but I never carried it today.
Okay.
It's a Sheng and Kamba book. So yeah.
Okay, we'll be asking you the same, perhaps.
Okay.
Or is that what you gave us already?
Yeah,
sweetest?
it's actually part of the book.
But is that your sweetest one?
I
No.
I think
Of course, we are talking like this as he fixes. Have you found it? Have you found something sweet in the covers of your book? Yeah.
So I'll read this poem. I don't think it's the sweetest.
Yes.
But I I like reading it or reciting it to people because I know how controversial it may be. Because people have their own interpretations. So here's the poem. The poem is called Sipping the Juice. I am not the kind who just table their body and mind at the parlor to drink the juice. Skillfully I sweep my juice, licking all the spots. To me it's a sport, but before the harvest, I like to toil, my sleeves to fold, deep in my pocket and sow the seed of beauty, refine my voice to flutter with fertilizer of praise, collecting the fruits, eliminating the gone bad, cuddling the ripen, washing it from head to tail, peeling off the skin, using my own fingers, caressing every part of it, chew the peel in a slow motion, blend the flesh on my own flesh, letting out saliva.
Ooh, okay. I'm not even asking you to clap. You may do though. So, yeah, I think. So, but that's one kind of poem. Of course, you have a serious other. Do you consider? Do you have what you call serious poems? Things which you think are serious?
Yeah, they are.
What are they about? What is a serious topic to you?
A serious topic to me is when right now you say, Rarara must go.
Okay.
That's a serious topic.
Yeah, that's a serious topic.
Yeah. So I think a serious topic tends to change with time. It may be a serious topic now, and maybe in 10 years it won't be. There's a time a friend challenged me to write about LGBTQ, and her reason was, I've never seen you writing about LGBTQ, and I need to see your poem about it. Which I did, I wrote, but then I wasn't compelled to. So when I'm writing, I don't write because this is a serious topic. I write because I feel compelled to talk about this particular topic at this moment. And I feel the people around me or myself are going through this particular topic. Yes, the book has 5 chapters. There's a chapter on mental health. There's a chapter on love and romance. There's a chapter on poetics. There's a chapter on death. There's a chapter on birth. There's a chapter on dreams and ambitions.
So I wanted to know, I mean, is there a work which, when we read and we say it's your poem, amongst those ones, is there one that really identifies you? You see, you can write a poem. Anybody can write a poem. But you can write, if I wrote a poem, I mean, I'd need people to identify the person, the me in the poetry. Do you have such things? Or do you write abstractly from a distance? What can we say is flesh and blood of you in those poetries, in your poetry? Is there something, or is it for others to find out?
I'm not sure if there is what really identifies me from reading it. It's something I'm also trying to learn in finding your own voice. But then when I was done publishing this book and now it was time to sell it and distribute out there, I was really afraid because I felt like people are going to know me more than they should. Yeah, from reading the book. They're going to know things that at some point I wouldn't want them to know. Usually when someone reads the book and they want to ask a question from the book, I try to evade it because I don't think I'm ready to answer those questions. So I usually hope someone buys and read the book on her or his own and stay with it. So I think from reading the poems, you can get to know me and know who I am as a person, what I believe in, what I hate. Some are very controversial, but I think I'm yet to find my personal voice, that when I write, every poem you can tell this so and so. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Mshairi? Look,
Yes.
we actually don't know you.
Okay.
You just came here, you've told us who you are,
Yeah.
but we really don't know you. But I suspect there's a kind of poetry that we will hear from you and
Yeah.
we might get to know you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What sort of topic is that?
From a person who struggles.
Do you have one poem which you know definitely that's me?
Yes. I tend to feel like, from a person who struggles with anxiety, I gravitate towards mental health work, or work that pushes people to healing more than anything. But of course, I'll talk about global experiences, and I'll talk about, global warming, I'll talk about climate change, I'll talk about gender-based violence, but from a point of the self and the soul and self-identity. I'm talking so much about...
You see, for example,
yes.
if you talk about gender-based violence,
yes,
there are some people who might write a poem about gender-based violence,
yes,
because they have experienced gender-based violence.
Yes.
And so they'll point to a particular poem and say, hey, by the way, this is me at 16 years of age, when I was living with my father and mother, and I observed how my father attacked my mother, etc. And so it's in the poem. Of course, I'm making you sweat, with that question, because you'll have to tell us, do you have personal experiences? We want to know you like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I write from experience before anything.
Can you tell us one poem where you think we will know you, we can get an experience of you, a piece of you, so to speak? Hey, I'm putting pressure.
Yeah, they are longer poems, so I'm wondering if you would like me to do that.
Just not necessarily say them, just tell us. Okay, what's that poem called, for example?
That poem is called Mutiso.
Mutiso?
Yes.
Okay, who's Mutiso?
Mutiso is my elder brother.
What happened?
So when I was growing up, I experienced violence when I was younger. And it wasn't like on me, it was me seeing my father and my mother doing some whatever.
Yeah.
And so because I was living with my elder brother, I kind of figured that he kind of picked some traits psychologically without thinking about them. And so when I went to stay with my brother every other time, I would see him and his girlfriend fighting. But there were very faint memories in my mind. So when I was writing the poetry, I was trying to see, so where's the thin line between where you've grown up and you have personal experiences with life, and how does that tie with gender-based violence? Because I feel like expressing my poetry from a point of personal, it's easier for people to connect rather than me talking abstractively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you give us maybe a verse of it? Yeah. A version of it.
Niko class 6. Hii asubuhi ina feel stretch refu sana katikati ya mlango wa nyumba na gate. Nimeshika kamba za viatu nikidebate kama nafaa niende ama ni breko tunafaa kuwait. Bro ametoka na sidhani ameambia yoyote atarejea. So sidhani itakuwa wise kumtegea Mutiso before watoke what I saw ni miguso ya marks za makucha kwa uso. Pande ingine ni demu yake, nywele yake ikiwa imechakaa. Pia uso yake kuna vile inakaa iko na madents. Though it all depends vile wewe utaamua kuiona. Kitu ni siku dhani asubuhi nitaiona. Kitu ni nimekuwa nimeshtuka usiku mzima baada ya brother kwanza na masoki na demu yake na kutisha na madaka.
Wow, okay. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm already feeling something. Yeah. Oyamo, do you have, I've pushed you into that sort of direction, but can you think of something that tells us about your history? in that light. We're looking for depth of emotion.
So yeah, most of the poems here are things we do in the dark. So.
Ooh, okay.
You
know, you're saying things we.
Yeah, things we, because
things I do in the dark. I mean.
No, some things I write here are about my brothers and friends, and what they do in the dark.
What about yourself?
So not everything is about me, but then I'm just thinking on top of my head.
Yeah.
This is part of the poems that I did in the morning, and it's about my relationship with my father. I believe my father loves me, and he does everything to show that. And it's a debate or a conversation we were having with fellow friends, and I think it's almost the same with most of us, especially the gents, that you realize the connection between boy child and the father is very minimal. For example, when you call each other, with the dad is always straight to the point. Are you in school? Yes. Uko Nairobi? Umeenda maandamano? Hapana. Aya, sawa. But with the mom, we might end up, when I call my mom to say a certain thing, we end up talking until the minutes are depleted. I have again to buy and again talk for another like an hour, and yet I haven't shared the same thing. Yeah. There's a time I stayed with my father and would stay in the house for like an entire day without saying anything to each other. And it's not like there's something wrong between us. Yeah, so it's something that usually disturbs me, because then it means it's difficult for me to share anything with my father. I'll readily share with my mother. And I was just thinking, as a male, and I'm looking forward to marrying someone beautiful and having kids, I wouldn't want my son to have the same say. So this poem is called Dear Father. Yeah, I did it in the morning, so probably if I could do some few lines.
Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah, that's what we'll...
Dear Father, I pour words onto this letter with pure love. Everyone says I'm your favorite child. I do not doubt. But there are things this relationship of ours hasn't favored me to ask. Things that the ingredients of this relationship hasn't allowed me to flavor with. Let's begin with, who poured ice on your heart? When is the last time that you genuinely cracked your ribs? What is your definition of love? And I'm not asking if you do love us. I know you do. It's evident to you that love is a verb. But do you ever wonder why we don't celebrate you on your birthdays? Do you ever wonder why you barely occupy space on our statuses on Father's Day? Do you consider it cheat that the world's men's day is on the same date with the world's toilet's day? Do you mind that my calls home are directed to mom and not to you, that my call with you is always treated like a prescribed dose, keen not to over or underdose, especially overdosing? At times I wonder how mom fell for someone so stone cold. She says that you're not really the man she married 25 years ago, that then you're the definition of Prince Charming, the funniest guy to ever grace her stage of humor. And I wonder, at what point did it change from my sunflower to Mama Watoto? Yeah, that's it. So
there, that's Oyamo Richard. Now, I want to invite the audience. Possibly you guys want to interact with this gentleman. I don't know if we can pass a mic around, or 3 minutes, 3 people. Okay, so yeah, I've been directed to have 3 people asking questions. We shall have our lady here at the beginning, at the front, from Masai Mara University.
Yeah, my name is Keton, and I'm beginning from Dr. Fred Mbogo's problematic question in the morning about how the serious problem of profession and can one ever make ends meet. So I'm posing that question to the two of you. do you think art pays? Or do you find it problematic? Number 2, to a student pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Literature, Theatre and Film, what would you tell them? Or what would you advise them? Because I meet students in their first year, when they come in and they hear that they are going to do literature and theater, they start asking you whether they can do education instead of theater. They become so demoralized. And even at the end of the 4 years, they keep saying, where will we find jobs? So to you, what can you tell such students?
Okay. There's a lady there, here. Merci.
Hi, my name is Mora. Laxus, you talked a little bit about concept poetry, and I got very interested because I've been to your show, and I was part of Rich's show. But I want to know, if you had to talk about components of a concept show, what would that look like? What is the one thing, if I wanted to get a concept show going, whether it's music, whether it's poetry, what is that one thing I should really be keen on? Thanks.
Okay. Check. Good afternoon, everyone. Mko salama? So my name is Daniel Simeo, and I'm very familiar with these two young gentlemen. And my question is just a provocative question, yani igniting ideas and such. In less than 2 sentences, nyinyi wawili nyote mtuambie, what is the future of poetry? Because our theme is igniting the future, sustainable innovation and social impact in performing arts. In the case of poetry, how does the future look like?
Okay. There's a gentleman at the end. Yeah, there.
Hi. Yeah. Cheers.
We don't know why they are clapping.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
My name is Mogambi. I love the work these two guys do. But my question is, as multidisciplinary, disciplinary, yes, artists.
Yeah.
Do you end up getting to the point where you are stretched thin, trying to make ends meet, and how do you contain that? Because that happens to so many other artists in similar.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There's a gentleman with a question here. Yeah, we shall not forget. I think that will be the last. But now there's a lady also. Okay.
Incidentally. Hello.
Hi.
Incidentally, the question has been asked to the young men. It is about the future of poetry.
Oh, okay.
But I like to ask Oyamo on a light touch that when did you become so close to your mother that you despise your dad? Because, you know, when you get a man getting close to the mother and the father is saying from sunflower to Mama Watoto, you know, Mama Watoto is the only one who knows who is the father of the child. So when you are writing the poem, did that cross your mind? You know, poetry is emotive. Poetry is emotive, and poetry is expressive, and it is intimate. It is very intimate. It brings out what you are.
Okay, some sections of the questions are interesting. Okay, let's have the lady, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I wanted to ask, how can one join Rafiki? Yes, I will need to send an application. And then I'm wondering, do you get, the way you said you have anxiety, Lexus, and also do you get scared that you may run out of ideas to write, you may run out of poetry to write, or what you may write next may not really be the best, your best piece, you know? Do you get that anxiety as a writer? And if you do, how do you end up dealing with it?
Okay. I'm assuming that's pretty much. Should I start?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So starting with that question, I feel butterflies every single time. I don't know if you noticed, somewhere between when Yam was performing, I kind of closed my eyes. Oh, okay, you never noticed, that's fair. So I get anxious a lot of times, and a friend told me that anxiety is okay. It's okay to feel butterflies in your stomach every single time that you're going on stage. And I love that I have butterflies every single time because it shows me that I am very keen with what I'm doing, and I do not want to be overconfident or let my ego take the lead. I want to serve people, and that's the primary role for me. I want to be able to serve people and give people something valuable. So when I get anxious, I feel like it's important. And then just tied to that question, first of all, I do not believe in writer's block. And this is my reasoning around it. I feel like if I am challenged to write about something and I dive into research properly and I dive into like my personal experiences and memories, I'll be able to create something. It doesn't need to be too extensive, but I'll be able to create something. So I feel like the moments that I am unable to create, I'm saying unable in quotes, when I'm unable to create, I try to be alive in a sense, to be more into life and to just rest and to allow creativity to take its course, in a sense. Because there is a problem when you rush creativity. Okay, concept shows, or before I get to concept shows, how do you balance multidisciplinary art forms? First of all, that's why I struggle. I never say I am a poet, exactly. I say I'm an artist. Because I usually feel like the moment you call yourself a poet, you're already putting a barrier to what you can create. And so I want to wake up every single day and I want to create. Not necessarily poetry, I want to be able to create. And that's very important for me because then I do not have like barriers in my mind in terms of how far my art form can go. And so whether I'm creating digitally, whether I'm creating like playing instruments, I feel like I'm creating, and that's the core of who I am as a person. So yes. Does art pay? Does poetry pay? For answering that question, I want to give it context. Spoken word is one of the youngest, especially spoken word poetry, is one of the youngest art forms in the country. So I was dating back to 2008. That's where people sat in a club and performed poetry for the first time. Or somewhere around 2006, the farthest I can go back. And poetry started to be a bit serious around 2013. So as an art form, it has not evolved as much as music has. So the thing is, when you stand on stage, and I come to stage and I am a musician, the DJ will put a playback, and I can sing a song over and over, over and over and over and over, and people will pay money to watch that. But when it comes to poetry, every single time I'm coming on stage, people want new material. It's a lot of pressure. That's why I say, does the pressure increase or decrease? Exactly. So, like, it's usually very tricky for poetry, especially when you understand, like, writing a poem can take you a month, 2 months, 3 months. You can imagine if you're on stage every week, how much pressure is that in terms of creating? Anyways, does poetry pay? Yes, in different forms. So, a concept poetry theatrical show is one way, and another, a more quote-unquote sustainable way is merchandising. And I've seen people make not a very decent living, but make something out of their art through merchandising. And when I say merchandising, is one of the things is publication. Part of the things is, like having merchandise to accompany your products. So like I did a show called Roga Nisiroge, and then I have tote bags, I have buttons. They're not like, you cannot like, I wouldn't say like necessarily make too much money from it, from merchandising, but it's one of the ways that I've seen people make ends meet every single day. And of course, slowly the art form is getting sponsorship from like partners and stuff. The likes of Goofy are partnering with, I don't know, Fresh to stage an entire concept show for 2 days. So I feel like the art form in itself is getting where it's supposed to be getting. I'm rushing through the questions to try and balance everything. How can one join Rafiki? It's very easy. There is a very small annual fee. It's what? Okay, yes. There's a very small annual fee, and if you just like DM Rafiki official on Instagram or anywhere, they'll just share a number of details in that. Yes, and concept shows. It's my last question.
Okay.
Yeah. So before you settle on doing a concept poetry show, you need to have a proper script. And I said in my experience, I wrote a show for 1.5 years. For someone else, they can just wake up, write it overnight, and come and stage it. But I am very specific with what I'm creating, so I take a longer time to create. And it's not the most sustainable way of creating, but you need to have a proper script, and that comes from a place of ideation. So I want to stage something different from the rest, and I'm going to do it. And then I need to find people that I gravitate towards. So I feel like I need a vocalist in my set, or at least I need 2 vocalists. I'll get 2 vocalists. I feel like I need a piano on my show. I'll get a pianist. But I'll source different people who have different capabilities from my network of creatives that I know. And so then the planning and logistics, there is the rehearsals, and for me, in my experience, I'm speaking from experience, so that it doesn't look like it's a blanket way of doing it. It's just how I've personally been able to do it. I personally did rehearsals for 3 months. And so that's studio rehearsals. So I'm going to the studio to just come up with a musical aspect of what I'm doing. But because mine is very musical than anything, on a lot of theater, I kind of find other way to balance that. And then marketing and promotion. For me, because I have a digital inclination, I worked alongside a digital studio. So that, in a sense, relieves the pressure from me in terms of creating marketing materials for my show. And then the event itself, and then you have to do post-show activities like having documentaries that will sell the show post the show. And so other people will stage a show and then put it up on a platform where you pay per click. So I'll be done with my show, charge the tickets, and now I'll get to harvest money from a show without necessarily, and I feel like some of you already know what pay-per-click is, but you can as well make money from that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I'll try to save on time. So number 1, does art pay? I believe it does pay, and I think it needs you to strategize yourself in the right way or places. It reminds me of a joke. Someone said that the only people who earn from Forex is those people who train people how to trade, and not the trading itself. So at some point, doing the art itself, I'm still conflicted on whether the people who are actually practicing the art itself are earning from it, from that. So I tend to believe that one needs to, like we were sharing in the morning, one needs to have some other complementing job or task that will give him income, and then do art as an additional thing. I'm trying not to use sideshow, as Tash corrected me, as an additional thing. So yeah, that's my answer to if art pays. On the students who are pursuing theater, literature, I myself pursued English and literature at Kenyatta University. And then I was done, I went to teach. I taught for a year, and then I had huge doubts on whether I want to teach, especially in that environment. But then I think it's a matter of pushing the wheel and finding spaces. For example, when I was publishing this book, at some point the book stalled for a year, and I didn't have funds. And my publisher kept on asking, "Hii kitabu tamaliza nini?" And I'm like, "Hey, Buddha, mimi, I'm not employed, zina do, so let's just chill." So eventually, he was like, "You did English and literature. We can train you to do editing." And we agreed. So I was trained to do editing, and then I did a number of tasks as a form of paying for the publication of the book. And from it, even after the publishing of the book, they decided to retain me. So, and I think it's because I did the English and literature. So I think we can always explore other forms, because I feel, especially for theater and literature, there are many forms that we can earn from other than teaching or just being in theater. So that's it. Future of poetry. I hope no one will misquote me for this, but future of poetry, I would say poetry is No, let me not use that. Let me just say, I'll say poetry because it's still very young. What I want to say is poetry is still virgin, and that means there's still a lot of exploration to do on it. On what Prof said about Mama Watoto, well, I think it's because I stopped the poem at that point, but basically what I was trying to do is, at that point, we were questioning, or I was questioning, the African way of showing love, and the question was, is it a taboo to show love in the open? Most of us probably have never seen our parents even hug, and you wonder, why is it so? Why don't they hug? And comparing in the Western culture, parents hug in the open, and I think it should be that way. So we were just questioning, why is it so? Is it a taboo to even hug in the open as parents? So it's because I stopped there, but it goes on starting from, it changed from My Sunshine to now Mama Watoto, and now we never see even them hugging, and why is it so? So that's it. But then again, I think art is subjective, and yeah, it's open to everyone's interpretation. How to join Rafiki, Lexus has touched on it. There's an annual fee, and then one key thing is you need to be a writer or a poet yourself. You need to be an artist. Atutaki my fans. Yeah, just to say it. And then if I get anxiety as a writer or performer, yeah, I do. Even when I was called upon to come here, I was, will I do it? Yeah. But at times, what I usually do when I'm anxious is I drink a lot of water. So when you see me sipping water, it's anxiety. Or the other thing is I scream, but I can't do it here. So the last thing about concept shows, I think Lexus touched on everything. The only thing I'll need to add is learn to incorporate other acts. You can incorporate dancer. You can incorporate something like mimicking, mime, puppetry, yeah, such kind of things. Okay. Thank you.
So I think we've come to the end of our conversations. I want you to clap for this gentleman. Yeah, and possibly I'm going to push them to, I'm going to challenge them to give us an impromptu performance, a verse perhaps, about the way they are dressed, because it looks very deliberate, isn't it? So I mean, if they are real poets, surely they should give us an impromptu of vile wamedunga. Okay.
Niseme kitu kuhusu vile nimedunga na mimi sijisikii kuaddress.
Okay, sawa. Pressure.
Aha, Lexus, you're bad. I would say I'm not a violent person, but once in a while mi upiga luku.
Thank you. Wazi. Thank you. That has been our session. Yeah, that's been our session. I want to invite Dr. Shikuku to finish on a high note.
Mimi si msanii wa sanaa. Thank you so much, Dr. Alfred Mbogo, for that very lively session. I think after this session, we need to have a health break. But please don't go away, because we have a performance coming up. And then after that performance by Adam Chienjo, it's called Loud Silence, what Professor Mugubi taught me as an oxymoron. Loud silence. He's still here, he's still young, he can also teach you. He taught me, I think 20-something years ago. After the loud silence, we will all troop to Alliance Francaise because there is a launch of the book that will be happening there from 6. So kindly take your tea very fast in the next 10 minutes and come back and enjoy the performance, which will be about 20 minutes. After that, we will all troop to Alliance Francaise for the launch of the book Mvita, A History of Mombasa. Thank you and enjoy.